Hello and welcome to Canadian Franchise Opportunities, your guide to Canadian franchises. You can find us on the web at cafranchiseopportunities.com. Today's presentation is on low-cost franchises, 5 tips to finding a great one. Let's get going. Okay, now what we like to do with every presentation is to start with a key principle to help guide you with respect to the topic. And the key principle for this topic is that low cost doesn't necessarily equal good opportunity, so be careful. You really have to look at what is the opportunity going to generate for you in terms of revenue, not just look at the cost. Alright, so our first tip is to ensure positive brand recognition. One of the most important things you can do in finding a great low-cost franchise is to look at the company's name and its reputation. And keep in mind, a brand is built from many pieces of the business, from a target market, the quality, the marketing, the research that goes in by the franchisor, the advertising, and just the name they've built. Now, one of the reasons that this positive brand recognition is so important is because this brand awareness is what feeds your pipeline to generate leads. So a brand that's already recognized is going to provide exposure, it's going to influence buyers, and it's going to engage them. So you could see that's a lot of value to get your customers or clients coming through to the business. And without brand awareness, you would have to create that exposure, influence, and engagement all yourself. This is why brand recognition is so important. Here are some key questions to ask. Is the company name recognizable to you? If it's not recognizable to you, then you have to question why you're looking at this, at least in terms of the recognition. Do any of your coworkers, friends, family, do they know about it? And if they do, what is the reputation? What do they say about the business? And probably most importantly, do some homework online. What is the franchisor and the franchisee's online reputation? Do some searches and find out what the end customer or the end consumer is saying about that franchise. Now, tip number 2 is to examine the investment costs. You need to look at all the costs associated with owning a franchise. Consider one-time fees as well as any fees or charges that might be assessed down the road, in addition to any recurring fees like royalties, annual franchise fees alike. Then remember, as I said, just because a franchise has a low initial cost, it may not be as affordable as you might first think. So ask your questions. What do you get, or what are you actually getting in return for the royalty fee? Are there any ongoing training, educational, or marketing fees? And can additional fees be assessed at the franchisor's discretion? You just have to be careful of that last one because fees could be popping up on you along the way. Tip number 3, define your income needs. When choosing among low-cost franchise options, it's important to know your own financial needs and what you might reasonably expect to bring in via the business. What are you going to put in your pocket, basically? So here's some questions to ask. How much personal income will you need each month in order to maintain your lifestyle? Do you have enough cash reserves to maintain that lifestyle until your franchise actually starts bringing in the income or becomes self-sustaining? So how much income you have on hand, how much cash you have on hand is basically your runway until you can get this business generating the cash it needs. And then lastly, does the franchise have the potential to generate enough income for you to keep, or maybe you don't want to actually keep your current lifestyle, maybe you want to up it a notch or two. You have to really look hard and decide if this franchise that you're looking at is gonna give you the lifestyle you need, basically. Tip number 4, you need to understand the competition. This is probably one of the most important things for you to do. Now, no one should ever think about starting a business until they've done a thorough competitive analysis. And here are some tips. I should say questions. What are the strengths and weaknesses of your competition? Every company has strengths and weaknesses, and you should create a spreadsheet and identify those strengths and weaknesses of the competition in your territory. What is the franchise company's unique selling proposition? What's the company you're thinking about buying, the low-cost franchise? What is its USP? It better be offering something unique. Otherwise, you're going to have to ask yourself, well, how am I competing if I'm not offering something unique? Thirdly, how can I leverage that USP in my target market to secure customers? So it just takes that question the next step further. There might be something unique, but can you turn that uniqueness into taking market share away from your competition? And then lastly, and you might not have thought of this question initially, but will you be competing against other franchisees? Yeah, that's right. Do you have a protected territory? There's some franchises where you won't have that, which means you might be competing against other franchisees. So you have to ask yourself, what does that do to your USP? That means other franchisees have the same USP as you do. So just be careful. If in fact you are competing with other franchisees, then I would consider that a red flag. Okay, tip number 5. You need to ensure that the franchise business fits you. Now, one of the most important things that many do not do is take time to do a self-inventory, basically, to find out what it is that you're bringing to the equation and making sure that you fit into that franchise. Here are some questions to ask. What skills are needed for you to succeed in that particular franchise business? Be specific. Do you have sales and marketing experience that could make the difference between success and failure? The reason it's worded this way is sales and marketing experience and knowledge is becoming one of the key critical success factors of any small business. So if you don't have it, then you have to look to the franchising and ask them, what are they doing for you in this area? And then lastly, do you have the personality for franchising? And actually, if you hang on here and you wait to the end of this presentation, there's a free tool that I will mention that deals with this tip, making sure that you're a good fit. Okay, so quick summary. Brand. Is there a positive brand recognition? Investment costs. You need to do your homework. You really need to figure out all the costs, both one-time and recurring. Income needs. What do you need to put in your pocket at the end of the day to make this work? What can that low-cost franchise generate for you? Competition. What is the unique selling proposition and how are you going to leverage that to secure customers? And finally, franchise fit. What do you bring to the equation? Now, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. Please visit us at cafranchiseopportunities.com. Check out our free tools. The one I mentioned in the presentation, the one here in the middle, Franchise Fit, it's a 22-page ebook to help you figure out whether or not you're a good fit for franchising. And we also have a Franchising 101 that gives you some basics, and then a franchise evaluation, which is called a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It'll help you really get into the details in evaluating a franchise. If you found this helpful, please like us. Again, thanks for listening.